Former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is a widely admired figure, and her replacement, former Massachusetts Senator John Kerry, has joked that he has big heels to fill. Our State Department correspondent Scott Stearns talked about Hillary Clinton's foreign policy legacy and more with On Assignment's Doug Bernard. Let's check it out.
Scott Stearns, what are we going to remember about Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and her State Department?
She says that when President Obama asked her to serve as Secretary of State, she felt that her biggest challenge was trying to restore America's image in the world, coming out of the administration of George W. Bush to somewhat unpopular wars overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so she embraced this long-traveled tenure as Secretary of State in a way of trying to repair some relations overseas.
Traditionally, how much leeway does a Secretary of State have?
That depends entirely on the president and the relationship between them. You saw even in the George W. Bush administration a difference between President Bush's relationship with Colin Powell and his relationship with Condi Rice, who had been his national security advisor in the first term. So when she moved over to state, for the second term, I think she felt she had more leeway. She knew the president better than Colin Powell, I think.
So let's look forward a little bit. Secretary Kerry has just finished his first official trip abroad. It was packed with a lot of issues, a lot of travel. How'd it go?
I think it accomplished what he was looking to do, which was to introduce himself formally to both world leaders and his counterparts as foreign minister.
What sort of differences, if any, are you seeing, and I know it's early, in terms of covering the Clinton State Department and now the Kerry State Department?
On policy, I would say there are a few differences, largely because, as you say, it's early, one. Two, Barack Obama is still the president of the United States. So while you say that a Secretary of State is America's top diplomat, the president is really the guy who's calling the shots. Stylistically, I would say you can already see a big difference.
Such as?
Hillary Clinton is a brand. Team Clinton comes in intact from her presidential campaign or from her Senate race. She has people who arrange the Vanity Fair interviews, people who are molding her brand.
You traveled with Secretary Clinton on a number of her trips abroad, and we all saw the images on the TV cameras, the events and that sort of thing. I'm wondering what kinds of memories or stories you can share with us about covering Secretary Clinton when the cameras weren't rolling.
Consummate politician, and I mean that in a good way, because politician is often a bad word. I'm thinking of a time in Zambia when she was probably well over an hour behind schedule, moving from one part of a conference center at some AGOA forum to another sort of meeting some other people. There was a small group of women who had some sort of USAID project. I think perhaps they were weaving baskets or something. They had set up their crafts on a walkway. The schedule was that Secretary Clinton was going to stop and just chat with them. Couldn't be done. She was behind schedule. That was scratched from the schedule. But she noticed them walking along the walk, and she stopped. Not just to say hi, she looked at their goods, she came around behind them, she said, okay, who's got a camera? She made sure everybody had a photograph. Hillary Clinton, I think, and it's said of her husband, was someone who, when she's giving you her time, is really giving you her time. She has eye contact, you're feeling you're making a connection, as opposed to some people in this town who they'll be talking to you, but they're also like checking out what else is going on and thinking about what they're next. Right. I think her ability to take a moment, to be in that moment, and to give 100% of her attention in that moment to the person who she's speaking to, I think that's effective diplomatically. It certainly was effective with these women in Zambia.
That was VOA State Department correspondent Scott Stearns speaking with On Assignment's Doug Bernard. Many thanks to them.